The planet was dead and cold. Dark clouds moved slowly in the sky, and sharp winds carried the smell of metal and smoke. Pieces of a broken spaceship were scattered across the empty land. Two alien girls, Elka and Sira, were hiding under a half-burnt wing of their ship. They were tired, scared, and freezing. Elka was the older one, around 17 in human years. Her skin was pale blue, covered in cuts and dust. Sira was smaller, only 12, and she held tightly to Elka's arm. They had no food, no clothes to protect them from the cold, and no hope of rescue. Their world was gone. Their home planet had been destroyed in a war, and they were the only survivors from their ship. They had escaped, flying in an old rescue pod until they crashed on this lonely planet. Now days had passed, and no one had come. "Do you think we will die here?" Sira asked in a quiet voice. Elka didn't answer right away. She looked at the dark sky, and then at her sister's face. "We have to wait," she said. "Maybe someone will find us." But inside, Elka wasn't sure. They had lost contact with all other ships, and this place seemed far from any trade route. Still, she had to be strong for Sira. That night, a cold wind blew harder. The two girls sat close together, trying to stay warm. Suddenly, they heard something, footsteps. Elka quickly pulled Sira behind a broken metal panel. Her heart was beating fast. She peeked through a crack and saw a shadow. A tall figure walked slowly toward the wreck, holding a flashlight. It wasn't a robot, and it didn't look like any alien soldier they had seen. The figure was human, a man with dark boots, a brown coat, and tired eyes. He stopped near the wreck and looked around. When he saw the two girls, he didn't pull out a weapon. He raised his hands and said, "I'm not here to hurt you." His voice was calm and warm. Elka didn't move. Sira gripped her arm tighter. The man took a step closer and knelt down. "You're not safe here," he said. "The nights are dangerous." Elka stood up slowly, placing herself in front of Sira. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Daniel," he said. "I live nearby. I saw your ship crash 3 days ago. Why didn't you come sooner?" Elka asked, still suspicious. "I wasn't sure who survived," Daniel said. "I didn't want to scare anyone." He looked at the girls, thin, shaking, wearing nothing but pieces of torn flight suits. "You need food and heat," he said. "Come with me. I can help." Elka hesitated. She didn't trust humans. Her people used to fear them, powerful, selfish, violent. But Daniel didn't seem dangerous. Then Sira collapsed. Her body hit the ground with a soft thud. "Elka," she whispered, "I'm so tired." Elka cried out and held her. Daniel moved forward and said, "Let me carry her." "No," Elka shouted, pulling Sira back. But Sira was burning with fever, and her lips were dry. "If we stay here, she will die," Daniel said, softly but firmly. He took off his coat and wrapped it around Sira. Then he gently lifted her in his arms. Elka followed closely, watching his every step. They walked through the cold night for over an hour. At last, they reached a small house built into the side of a hill. It looked old, made of metal and stone, but it had light and warmth. Daniel placed Sira on a soft bed near a small fire. Elka sat beside her, still silent, still alert. Daniel brought soup in a bowl and water in a clean cup. Elka tasted it first, then gave some to Sira. For the first time in days, Sira smiled, warm. She whispered, "It's warm." Daniel didn't ask questions. He didn't touch them or stare. He sat by the fire, letting them rest. Elka watched him, confused. "Why are you helping us?" she finally asked. Daniel looked into the fire. "Because once, long ago," he said, "I needed help too, but no one came." Elka didn't answer. She just looked at her sister sleeping peacefully for the first time since the war. She looked at Daniel again, and something in her heart softened. Maybe this human was not like the others. Outside, the wind still howled across the dead land. But inside the house, for now, there was light. There was heat, and there was hope. The fire cracked softly in the corner of the room. The smell of warm soup mixed with the dusty air. Sira was asleep, her chest rising and falling slowly. Elka sat beside her, eyes open, body still. She hadn't moved in hours, even though the room was warm. Her fingers stayed curled, ready to protect. She didn't trust this place, not yet. Daniel sat near the fire, silent. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions. He just stared into the flames, lost in some old memory. Outside, the wind knocked against the walls. It sounded like whispers, like voices from another world. Elka hated that sound. It reminded her of the last night on her home planet. Screams, metal breaking, everything falling apart. She looked around the room. It was simple, like something from an old movie, wooden. Shelves, a table with tools, and a wall full of books. Books strange. Heavy things full of human stories. A world so different from her own. Sira turned in her sleep, whispering Elka's name. Elka brushed her hair gently. Her sister's skin felt warmer, now not burning like before. She'd be okay, Daniel said quietly. Without turning around, Elka didn't answer. She wanted to ask him who he really was, why he lived alone, why he was helping them. But she also knew questions could be dangerous in her world. Kindness always came with a price. Daniel stood up and walked to a shelf. He picked up a small folded blanket and handed it to Elka. She hesitated, then took it, wrapping it around Sira. "You're not from here," he said. "I mean, not just this planet." Elka nodded slowly. "Our ship crashed," she said. "We escaped from a war." Daniel looked down. "I know what war feels like," he said. "I was a soldier once." Elka narrowed her eyes. "A soldier?" she asked. Daniel gave a small smile, sad and tired. "Yes, but not anymore. Now I fix things, machines, houses, broken radios." He paused, then said, "Sometimes I wish I could fix people too." Elka stayed quiet. In her world, a soldier meant danger, but Daniel didn't act like one. He moved slowly, spoke gently, and gave without asking. "I lost my daughter," Daniel said after a long silence. "She was your sister's age." Elka looked at him, confused. "What happened to her?" she asked. "A virus," he said. "We couldn't leave the city, and the hospitals were full. I held her hand, but I couldn't save her." His voice cracked a little, but he kept looking into the fire. Elka felt something strange in her chest, pain, but not hers, his real, deep pain that didn't feel like a lie. She looked back at Sira. "I thought we were the only ones left who felt like this," she said. Daniel shook his head. "No, pain finds everyone," he said. "But so does hope." Elka blinked, slowly. She had heard the word before, hope, but in her world, it was just a sound, not a real thing. Here it felt heavier, more real. That night, Elka stayed awake while Daniel slept in a chair by the door. She stared into the fire, thinking of her parents, her friends, her city, all gone. But Sira was still here, breathing, dreaming. And this strange man, this human, was keeping them safe. Maybe, just maybe, this place wasn't a trap. Maybe the fire meant something. Warmth, protection, a small light in a dark, cold galaxy. The next morning, when Sira woke up and saw the fire still burning, she smiled and whispered, "It wasn't a dream." And for the first time since the crash, Elka smiled back. Not because everything was fine, but because for now, they were not alone. The storm came without warning. Winds howled outside like a pack of wild animals. Rain slapped against the small house, fast and loud. Lightning flashed through the windows, turning shadows into monsters. Sira screamed in her sleep. She dreamed of fire and falling ships, of her mother's voice disappearing in the smoke, of running, always running. Elka rushed to her, held her close. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now." But her own hands were shaking, because safety was a word they hadn't believed in for a long time. Daniel came in from the other room, carrying a blanket. His boots were muddy, his jacket soaked. He had gone outside to fix something on the roof. Even in the storm, he had not left them alone. "She'd be okay," he said gently, placing the blanket on Sira's legs. "She's just scared." Elka nodded. but her eyes stayed locked on him. She had watched him for days now, the way he moved, the way he spoke. He was calm, careful, never rushed, never loud. But Elka knew humans could lie in silence too. That night, Elka didn't sleep. She sat in the corner, a small tool in her hand, sharp enough to defend if needed. She watched Daniel as he made repairs to a broken heater. She studied the way he fixed things with tired hands and quiet patience. "Why are you really helping us?" she finally asked. Daniel didn't look up. He just tightened a screw and said, "Because someone should. That's not a reason." Elka said, "That's an excuse." Daniel stopped working. He wiped his hands with a cloth and turned toward her. His eyes were dark and tired, but clear. "No one helped me when I lost everything," he said. "So now I help, even if it's too late." Elka didn't speak, because she didn't know what to say to a man who had scars just like hers, invisible but deep. Later that night, while Daniel slept in the chair by the fire again, Elka walked into the workshop beside the house. She saw boxes full of old tech, broken drones, rusted weapons, pieces of old ships. A map was pinned to the wall, with stars marked in red. Human systems, trading routes, and one symbol she recognized, her own home world, crossed out in black. Suddenly she heard a sound behind her. Sira, awake, eyes wide. "Elka," she whispered, "do you trust him?" Elka looked back at the fire in the other room, at Daniel sleeping peacefully. "I don't know," she replied. "But he hasn't lied yet." Sira bit her lip. "In war, people lie before they attack." "I know," Elka said softly. "That's why I never sleep." The next morning, Daniel handed them warm clothes, not armor. Not uniforms, just soft human jackets and old boots. They smelled like rain and old wood, but felt warm. Elka held the jacket in her hands, unsure. "It's not a trick," Daniel said. "They were my daughters." He looked away after saying that. Elka stared at the jacket longer, then slowly put it on. It fit, not perfectly, but enough. Sira smiled. "You look like a human now." Elka didn't smile back. She looked at Daniel and asked, "What happens if someone finds out we're here?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "Then we run," he said, "like we always do." And in that single sentence, Elka finally understood something. Daniel wasn't saving them. He was saving himself too. Because in a broken world, sometimes people don't help you because you need it. Sometimes they help because they're trying to heal a part of themselves. Trust doesn't come easy, especially when it has to be built on the ruins of pain. But that night, for the first time, Elka slept with both eyes closed, and the tool she kept in her hand fell quietly to the floor. Asterisk, the sky was blue, impossibly blue. Elka had never seen that color in the sky before. Back on her home planet, the air was always thick, orange and smoky. But here, it was open, fresh, endless. She stood on top of a small hill near Daniel's house. Sira ran below, laughing, chasing birds like she'd forgotten the war ever happened. For a moment, Elka wanted to forget too. Just for a moment. Daniel was fixing an old truck nearby, covered in dust and rust. He wiped his hands and looked up at her. "You okay?" he called out. Elka nodded, then asked, "Is this really Earth?" Daniel chuckled. "No," he said. "This is the quiet part of Earth. Most people live in cities, full of lights, noise, problems. But here, no one asks questions." That made sense to Elka. A place where no one asked questions was the perfect place to hide. Inside the house, things had changed too. Daniel cleared out a room for the girls. He built them beds from old crates, covered them with real blankets. He even painted the walls a soft color. Sira liked green, the color of new life, but deep. Inside, Elka still couldn't rest. Every smile felt like something borrowed. Every quiet night felt like the calm before another attack. One evening, while the fire crackled and rain tapped on the windows, Daniel told them a story. He showed them an old photo. A little girl with dark hair, standing in front of the same fireplace. "My daughter," he said. Her name was Lucy. Sira stared at the photo. "She looks like me," Daniel smiled gently. Maybe that's why I couldn't leave you two behind." Elka stayed silent, but she watched him, not for lies, not for tricks, just for truth. And that night, she found something in his voice she hadn't heard before. It wasn't pity, it was love. But love is dangerous when it doesn't last. And danger was always one step behind them. The next day, Daniel took them to a small human village nearby. He gave them human names. Elka became Eva and Syra became Sarah. He said it would help them blend in. They wore hoodies and caps to hide their alien skin. Daniel told the townspeople they were distant relatives from far away. No one asked more, because like Daniel said, people here didn't care for questions. They walked through the village, saw small shops, people smiling. Syra tasted ice cream for the first time and giggled. Elka tried to act normal, but her eyes kept scanning rooftops and shadows. Then, something happened. A boy in the village tripped near them and scraped his knee. Syra ran forward and touched him. Her skin glowed. Faint blue for a second. The boy stared, wide-eyed. Elka pulled Syra back, and Daniel quickly stepped in. "Sunlight trick," Daniel said, laughing it off. Just a reflection. But the boy kept watching them as they walked away. And later that night, someone knocked on their door. No one was there, just a piece of paper. One word written in bold black letters. Aliens. Elka's heart sank. Daniel read it, crumpled it, and threw it into the fire. But the message was already burning in all their minds. "They're watching," Elka said. Daniel nodded. "Then we stay quiet, and we stay together." That night, Syra held Elka's hand. "Is this our home now?" she asked. Elka didn't know how to answer. Home was not a planet anymore. Not a place with a flag or a language. Home was the feeling of being safe in someone's care. And if that was true, then maybe, just maybe, Daniel was their home. But not everyone in the village wanted them to stay. And far away, in the blackness between stars, something else had already started moving. It started with silence, not the peaceful kind, but the sharp, heavy kind that makes your skin feel cold. Birds stopped singing. Dogs stopped barking. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Daniel looked up from his tools and felt it in his bones. Something was wrong. Elka felt it too. She stood in the garden, helping Syra water a small plant they'd grown together. Suddenly, her hand froze. The water dripped to the ground, forgotten. She looked toward the sky. There was nothing there, just clouds and sunlight. But her heart pounded as if a shadow was already over them. That night, someone knocked on the door again. But this time, they didn't leave a note. This time, they stayed. Daniel opened the door slowly. 3 men stood outside, uniforms, guns, cold faces. "Mr. Daniel Carter?" One asked. "Yes," Daniel answered. "What is this about?" "We received a report," the man said, "about unusual activity on your land." Daniel didn't move. "I grow tomatoes and fix machines," he said. "Not much excitement here." But the man pushed past him, followed by the others without permission, without care. Elka grabbed Syra and pulled her into the back room. She pressed her hand against the hidden panel in the wall Daniel had built. It opened with a soft click, just enough space for both of them to crawl inside. "Don't make a sound," Elka whispered, holding her sister close. Syra was shaking. Not from fear of being caught, but from the feeling of being hunted again. The men searched the house. They looked under tables, opened drawers, even kicked over a chair. Daniel stayed calm. "There's nothing here but me," he said. "I live alone." One of the men looked at a photo on the wall. It showed Daniel with a girl, his daughter, Lucy. "You had a family once," the man said. "Where are they now?" Daniel's eyes didn't blink. "Gone," he said. "Long time ago." The agents looked around one last time, then turned to leave. But one of them paused at the fireplace. There, in the ashes, he saw something, part of a drawing. A child's drawing, in alien lines and curves. He picked it up slowly. "What's this?" he asked. Daniel didn't answer. The man turned it over, showing the faint blue glow still trapped in the paper's fibers. "Sir," he said to the others, "we need to come back with backup." They left, but not quietly. their boots thudded across the ground like war drums, and when the door closed, Daniel locked it behind them. His hands were shaking. The girls stepped out from the hidden wall. Daniel looked at them, his face pale. "They know something," he said. "We need to leave, but where?" Syra asked. "We can't keep running forever." Elka looked at Daniel. "You knew this could happen." Daniel nodded. "I did," he said, "and I planned for it." He walked to the barn behind the house and opened the old doors. Inside, under a dusty tarp, was a hidden ship, small, fast and ready. "Just in case," he said. "I've kept this since my old days." They packed in silence. No time for memories, no time for questions, just quiet steps and the heavy feeling that they might never see this home again. But before they could take off, the sky lit up red, a spotlight from above, a drone hovering silently in the night. "Run!" Daniel shouted, pulling the girls into the ship. The engines roared, lights flashed, and the ground shook beneath them. But the drone had already sent a signal, across cities, through satellites, into the hands of people who wanted aliens caged or killed. As the ship rose into the sky, Elka looked down at the small house, the fireplace, the books, the garden all disappearing beneath clouds. Was this home? She asked softly. Daniel, gripping the controls, whispered, "It still is, just not where we left it." Above them, stars waited, cold and distant. But behind them, Earth had started to whisper a new word. Not welcome, but wanted, and being wanted. In the wrong way was the beginning of a different kind of war. The room was cold, but not because of the air. It was the kind of cold that came from eyes watching, judging, calculating. Elka sat at the long wooden table, hands folded, jaw tight. Syra sat beside her, nervous, fidgeting with a loose thread on her sleeve. Across from them sat strangers, some in suits, some in uniforms, all staring, and at the center of it all was Daniel, standing tall, older than anyone in the room could see, not because of his age, but because of everything he had carried. A judge cleared his throat. "This hearing is now in session," he said. The words echoed like thunder in Elka's chest. Syra grabbed her hand beneath the table, and Elka squeezed back. It had been 3 days since they were captured. 3 days of questions, bright lights, locked rooms, and voices saying, "They're dangerous." Daniel had tried everything to keep them out of the system. But when the truth came out, 2 alien girls living in secret with a human man. World demanded answers. Reporters camped outside the courthouse. News headlines screamed, "Alien children on Earth, human man hides them for months." Some wanted justice, some wanted blood, and some just wanted to watch. But Daniel didn't care about the noise. He stood and faced the room like a wall of stone. "These girls are not a threat," he said, voice steady. "They are children. They lost their planet, their family, their people." One of the agents interrupted, "And now they've been brought to Earth illegally." Daniel looked at him sharply. "No one chooses to be a refugee," he replied. "They didn't ask to be here. They just asked to survive." Elka's eyes filled with tears, not because of fear, but because someone was finally speaking for them, out loud in front of the world. A woman from the council leaned forward. "Why didn't you report them?" she asked. "Because I've lived long enough to know what happens when you trust the wrong people," Daniel said. "And I couldn't let that happen to them." The judge looked at Elka. "Do you understand what this hearing is for?" Elka stood up slowly, heart pounding like a drum. "Yes," she said quietly. "You want to decide if we belong." The room fell silent. Her voice was calm, but it held weight. "I don't know if we belong on your planet," she continued. "But I know where we do belong." She turned to Daniel, eyes locked. "We belong with him," she said. "He didn't treat us like aliens. He treated us like daughters." Syra stood up too, voice trembling. "He gave me books," she said. "He told me stories. He taught me how to plant seeds and wait for them to grow." Then she looked at the council, her small voice cutting through the silence like glass. "I never had a father," she said. "But I have one now." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked down, eyes burning, and for the first time in his life, he heard the word he had waited years to hear. "Dad," Elka said softly. "That's who he is." The room stayed quiet for a long time. No one spoke, no one moved, because in that moment, something changed. This wasn't just about species, laws, or planets. It was about family. Something deeper than blood, something older than war. The judge leaned back, eyes softening. He didn't smile, but the weight in his voice had shifted. "This is no longer just a legal matter," he said. "It is a human one." Outside, the cameras kept flashing. The world kept shouting, but inside that courtroom, 3 broken souls stood together and became whole. That day, Daniel wasn't just a man. He was a father, not by blood, but by choice. And that choice made all the difference. It began with a sound no one on Earth had ever heard. Not thunder, not wind, not machines. It was a deep hum, ancient and heavy, shaking the air like a warning. People looked up, shielding their eyes from the morning sun. There, in the sky, a shape slowly appeared through the clouds. Black, sharp and massive, an alien ship, not human, not friendly. Inside the small farmhouse where it had all begun, Elka stared out the window. Sira stood beside her, quiet, afraid. "It's them," Elka whispered. "They found us." Daniel locked the front door, even though it wouldn't help. He checked the power cells of the old ship in the barn. "It's still flight ready," he said. "If we run now—" "No," Elka said, cutting him off. "We've run enough." Sira looked at both of them. "What do we do then?" "We protect our home," Elka said, voice steady. That word meant something different now. Not a planet, not a building, but the place where someone waited for you, believed in you, fought beside you. The alien ship landed near the village, sending shockwaves across the ground. Villagers screamed and scattered. Government troops tried to hold position, but it was clear they were outmatched. From the ship came tall, armored creatures, bounty hunters, hired to collect the lost property of a fallen empire. And to them, Elka and Sira were nothing but rewards. But Elka was not the girl they chased months ago. She was no longer lost. She was home, and she was ready to fight for it. She walked into the center of the village, face uncovered. Sira stood beside her, Daniel behind them, holding a modified plasma rifle. The alien leader stepped forward, metal armor glowing with light. "You don't belong here," he growled. "Come quietly, and we will spare this place." Elka stared him down. "You had your chance," she said. "We choose Earth now, then Earth will burn," the leader replied. "Not today," Daniel said, aiming the rifle. "Not while I'm breathing." The battle exploded like fire in dry grass. Lasers, fire, panic. But the villagers didn't run this time. They fought, side by side with Daniel and the girls. Sira used her energy touch to disable weapons. Elka moved fast, smart, leading people to safety. Daniel held the front line like a wall, refusing to fall. The fight lasted hours. Smoke covered the sky. The streets cracked. But by the time the sun broke through the clouds again, the alien ship lay silent, its crew defeated. Elka sat on the ground, exhausted. Daniel limped to her side, blood on his arm but a smile on his face. "You okay, soldier?" he asked. She smiled weakly. "I'm not a soldier. I'm a daughter." Sira hugged them both. And for the first time, she didn't cry from fear. She cried because they had won, not just a battle, but something greater. News spread fast. People around the world saw what happened. Not invaders, not enemies, but protectors, family, daughters of Earth. Months passed, and things changed. Laws were rewritten. Earth opened a new file, citizens of non-Earth origin. And the first 2 names on the list were Elka Carter and Sira. Carter, one evening, after everything was quiet again, the 3 of them sat under the stars behind the farmhouse. No helmets, no hiding. Just Daniel, his daughters, and the sky. "Do you ever miss your planet?" Daniel asked. Elka looked up at the stars. "I miss what it was," she said. "But not what it became." Sira pointed at the stars. "We have this one now. Daniel nodded. And it's better because you're in it. The stars above sparkled. Not as reminders of what they lost, but promises of what they still had. Because sometimes, aliens don't just visit Earth. Sometimes, they choose to call it home.